right, you guys. Today we're going to actually talk about how the stuff actually gets done. James is in there making the sausages. I can't wait to have him on here. This is going to be fun. He's not only working at a health system and tell you all about that, but he's worked in the duck side. So this is the guest you were looking for, all of my 3 listeners. We're going to have a lot of fun today. James, welcome to Crazy Town. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, loaded question this morning. It's all kind of up day.
There we go.
James, tell us where you hail from. Where do you work? What do you do there?
So I am born and raised here in the great city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I am currently working. So it's a little bit of a full circle moment for me, if you will. I was actually born in the hospital I'm working at. So a little bit of a weird full circle moment. I'm giving back, I guess, to the place that brought me into the world. That's what I like to tell people. But like you said, been on the dark side prior to this for the balance of my time. Been here at Cape Fear Valley Health for the last almost 4 years now, working as their digital marketing manager.
Got it. And what is Cape Fear? How big?
Yeah, so Cape Fear Valley is over 1,000-bed healthcare system in southeast North Carolina. We service 7 counties in the southeastern region. We're HQ'd here in Fayetteville with our medical center, but have 6 other hospitals. We're approaching 90 clinics now and getting to the triple-digit number very quickly. We're supposed to hit that this year in 2025. So we are rapidly expanding across the southeastern region. So there's plenty to see and do around here, no question.
I love it. Could they have not come up with a different name for a hospital system? Cape Fear Valley? Like, who the hell wants to go there? I'm already scared.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that plays into it for sure from a branding standpoint. Absolutely.
Oh, first thing to address. So, all right, you're digital marketing manager. Are you all service lines? Are you over digital media, SEO? What's the purview? And we'll know what to hone in on.
Yes, the answer basically is yes. So I definitely speak with all of our different service lines, mostly at a high level. One of my main responsibilities here is our website. So we did go through a very intensive from the ground up website rebuild and launched that in December of last year. So we've been live for about 6 months on our new site, again, from the studs up. So that's been great, but obviously websites are never done. So one of the main components, like I said, of my day is really making sure content that we got propped up is accurate, stays accurate, and it's as useful for patients as it can be. So always talking to all the service lines for our website for that. SEO is another large component of my job. No question, Alex, about that. And then I would say another large focal point is online reputation management. That's another big one, that falls in my lap as it does with, most people in digital marketing. So I would say those are the 3 main big focal points on my side.
So like everything, I love it. This is the fun thing. So when you're not at one of the huge health systems, you get to do everything. That's the upside of a smaller regional thing is you're going to get to touch everything and have way more impact, way more faster. So that's what James is doing. This is fun. Let's get to reviews and all that fun stuff later. I want to talk first about the website. How long did it take? Why'd you guys do it? New functionality. What's the number 1 KPI you looked at when you launched to say, it works?
Yeah. Great question. So really, we started this journey right when I got there. Like I said, almost 4 years ago, we really started the strategy development for that, really pitching that to C-suite, why we needed a new website. And the case study for that was pretty easy. Our website at the time was not updated or had a meaningful update for over 10 years, which is obviously quite old, for a website. And another main emphasis for our website was moving from an HTML coded website into a content management system, a CMS. Our team, like you said, is fairly small, and that helps take some of the emphasis and the kind of cue off of web development, where they're solely tasked with dotting I's and crossing T's, everything that we have to up and, to larger, more difficult projects. We can really take some of that workload off of them. So really they can focus on more technical aspects of the site build, and we can really keep up with the day-to-day function and upkeep of that. So that was another huge swing, was really giving the marketing team more onus and accountability over website updates, especially the small things, so that's helped us stay more nimble and keep the content more accurate.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The website is mostly for marketing purposes, and the marketers need to be able to edit and control it. So that seemed to be the big onus. Did you introduce new functionality? Do you have online scheduling? Do you have more provider, patient, testimonial, video? What kinds of fun stuff is going on now?
Great question. So we do. We have online scheduling. I will say that's something we're working on rolling out more of. And we definitely need to do that for more of our providers. But even taking a step back, for physician profile cards, in pages, we didn't even have that on our old website. So having a meaningful, dedicated space just for someone to see where that person works, what their contact information is. And then we also, I know, right? Bare bones stuff here. But like I said, the last time we had an update was quite a while ago. So, substantial changes that we've made. We've done a lot of integrations with software elsewhere too, from an Epic standpoint, to make sure patients can get, those touch points that they need to with healthcare providers, not from a content, from a design standpoint. So really making sure the user experience is a lot more seamless, taking, 7 to 10 click journeys, to a page, getting those down to 2-3 click journeys, just basically getting us updated for the 2025 standards.
How'd you do that?
So we worked intensely with a website building partner of ours. That happened across over a 2-year span to really get that. Really, we had to make sure the architecture was built first. So that's a very intensive internal project, knowing that a lot of our information was very dated in how we talked about services. We really needed to right size that first before we understood what the design side of that was. So even bare bones things like how many conditions and treatments should be included in this service line. Should all of those have pages? What does the taxonomy look like for all of those? Is there cross-reference, like from a general surgery to a breast reconstruction page? Obviously, there's a lot of overlap with those types of things. So really making sure you have the layout of the pages. I know it's not rocket science or doesn't sound like that, but it's very easy to move too quick on that stage, and just think we can smooth that out later. If you don't have that laid out, it becomes a nightmare for you, later on. So the information architecture is vital to start with. And then you can start with what, typically called, and we call 2 sprints. So based on that information architecture and how we want it laid out, our website partner worked with us on various sprints from a design standpoint. We looked at several different options from menu layouts, to how we wanted headers to look like on initial page load. So it's just a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration between teams to make sure you're getting to a agreed upon solution. But that's how we got there, Alex. Just a lot of weekly meetings over a 2-year time period.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the big theme is consolidate the content so people don't go to 10 pages to find what they could have found on one service line page. Cardio. Okay, we treat all of these things and this is the surgeries we have. And if you want to learn more, you can go to this page. So consolidating all of that stuff and then obviously reorganizing the site so the headers and stuff have all of the relevant contact information. People get to the endpoint faster. Guys, this is what the robots can't replace for the forthcoming years, like for the foreseeable years. It's like it's the thinking and the strategy and all of that stuff. It can't do that. And so get as strategic as you can, as quickly as you can. And I know you also believe that one of the biggest things marketing needs to evolve into is more so the integration with EMR, Epic, if you will, stuff like that, right? Is that what you're hoping happens in the near term?
100%. Yeah, we have surveys, running on our site. We get a lot of different data points, but I've heard you say it too, Alex. A lot of people, what they're coming for on websites, healthcare websites is transactional based. They want to pay a bill. They want to be seen by a doctor. If they want to read more content, or about a service, that's great. That's somewhat secondarily a lot of the times though, from what we've seen. They want to apply for a job, pay a bill, or get to a doctor quickly. So it's providing those touch points, and again, that's why the setup is so important when you're doing that, making sure CTAs are in the right spots, little things like that. Again, it's very easy to cut a corner on, but that's why that data and that setup is so important. So your patients can get where they need to as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And then get the right content afterwards if the MR is integrated with marketing automation and software and stuff like that. They get the right journeys and all that fun stuff. So your LTV increases and the patient gets better care. Right?
That's right.
We'll see if that ever happens. Epic, open it up. Is it Epic? Who the hell is doing some kind of, is it Health Grades or Epic? Epic. It's them. They're doing some kind of pseudo marketing CRM thing right now, I think, aren't they? I don't know. I heard about it. We don't have a ton of else.
I actually just had a call with them yesterday, Alex. You're right. Or at least that's the first time I've heard about it. It seems like they're making more intentional moves into the marketing space and integration. So yeah, it sounds like they have a lot coming down the pipeline.
Glad they're finally paying attention to us. All right. I get all of that and very useful. By the way, did you like your web design partner? If you want to give them a shout out, that's fine. We're not competitive. I want everybody to get the help they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with Unlock Health. When we started with them, they were actually still called Centertech, but they are Unlock Health now, very tried and trusted name in the space. Absolutely.
Good. And we know Unlock well. That's fun. And I'm glad they took good care of you. At the end of the day, it's all about connecting the patients with care. Whoever the hell can do that, that's what's most important. And tell us a little bit about reputation management. You got over 1,000 providers. Mm-hmm. What kind of program are you running? What's your philosophy there?
Yeah, so we work with a software called Review Trackers. It really helps, first of all, aggregate all those reviews in one spot. So I'm not hunting those, on individual sites like Google, Health Grades, Yelp. Like everyone, I would say well over 90% of our reviews are Google based. So it's very Google heavy where we're receiving the vast majority of our reviews. But that's becoming more and more of a focus, I would say, for our healthcare system overall over the last couple of years. And a lot of that is really having more meaningful headway in that space, really making sure we have all the little things done on those profiles, like everyone's pretty much aware of though, but photos, descriptions, again, all those little things that are annoying and very easy to put off. We know Google loves to see those, and they absolutely affect your rating on those local searches. No question about it. The other part of it is really automating that process. What we've seen is when you ask for more reviews, more times than not, you're going to get higher quality reviews. And I think you mentioned at the beginning, Alex, with the Kefir branding, we've seen that play through in some reviews. They almost tag onto that. When they do have a not, optimal experience, they kind of latch onto the name there almost as just a gun punch. So we have to deal with that, certainly. But I think that played into some of the hesitation with turning on review automation was we're not in the best place to start with. Is this almost going to get us in a worse place than if we didn't do something? And we've proven that that's not the case, which was interesting. Our partner certainly reassured us that wasn't going to be the case, but you never know. You ultimately don't know, but we've really proven that out the last couple of months that when you automate that review process, you're going to get that average star rating up. Because
no one that has a great experience, wants to go leave a review. We had a good experience moving on with our life. So if you're not asking, you're just getting the negative Nancy's, unless the healthcare organization actually really sucks. And then you're going to ask everybody and they're all going to say terrible things. But I've not run into that case yet. So that's good. And I'm glad that worked and you guys are scaling that up. Also helps the reviews and positive sentiment and all that stuff, the LLMs look at that. Whereas Google really didn't that much. You can ask ChatGPT and Gemini, hey, why am I not ranking when I search for this kind of thing in your LLM? And be like, well, we noticed that your reviews are not that great for that service line or this location. You're like, whoa, it's crazy. So they actually look at the sentiment. And so reviews even more important. So is getting press. So is all the technical SEO stuff. All right. You're also over the media. And so I want to touch on this. What would you do if we gave you 20% more budget? What would you do with it?
Sure. I would say a lot of this plays into the fact that we are starting to stretch thin, in terms of clinics and really growing very rapidly. And like everyone, sometimes the marketing budget, it tails along behind that a little bit, so you have to get creative in the short term when you're really onboarding a lot of clinics, new services with existing dollars. And I would say that's one area, for us specifically, where we could use some further reinforcement on the SEM side of things. Really making sure these clinics are getting the support, especially ones that are in fairly isolated areas, where the care is really needed, or if it's a new clinic in that area, that's a big focal point for us. And another one I would say, Alex, is the AI portion of that. There's multiple things a day where I see AI is creeping in and taking more of that share, from traditional search rankings. So in addition to SEM, I would say we really need to get a better grasp on AI and where we're starting to rank on that. We're starting to do some of that, but we really need to make sure we're understanding that from a holistic standpoint and staying in front of that so we can start getting in those search rankings and AI results, no question.
That's crazy. Google got replaced, or is getting replaced with basically just a different form of the same kind of thing. And now we have to check rankings in another place. There are tools in SEMrush has something coming out, and we're testing all these things that kind of enable you to track certain phrases or questions, and then you'll find out that way. That's fun. Your agency will help you through that. And so making sure that you rank there, and then reviews and press and all these other things matter more to them than Google. Google was simpler, and we are going to miss those simpler times, I think. So that was an interesting comment you made of we've onboarded all these new clinics and providers, but we still have the same budget because the P&Ls haven't been absorbed and we have to do more with less. What is the most effective media you have running? And what do you do with those new clinics? Do you run that same playbook, or do you do something different?
Yeah, we basically have a little bit of a boilerplate campaign to start with, to get them out of the gate. And that's something that's, a very time efficient thing as well, that we've seen success with. We're always optimizing, of course, so we kind of, where we ended one campaign, we'll start that with the next, for a clinic. But we always tweak a little bit depending on the geographic region. We always have takeaways. Some media, in our areas, because some of our counties are very rural. So we do have some inventory issues some places. So there are some caveats, some factors into that, most definitely, given some of the counties that we are serving in southeastern North Carolina are some of the poorest in the state. So there's definitely some emphasis on that from a digital standpoint. But yeah, we definitely have a boilerplate kind of campaign we start with and then adjust depending on what the data is telling us.
That's good. Looking at the data, and data's hard to read sometimes in healthcare marketing because you got all kinds of gaps. You guys have CRM, CDP. What do you guys use to try to figure out what's working?
Yeah, we use a couple different things. So we have a data analytics platform. We've moved away from Google Analytics. That's always kind of the great denominator, of course, to start with and kind of get everyone on the same page. And then we have some on-page analytics as well through a partner called Mouseflow. That helps bring some color to it. A common competitor is Hotjar that, again, gives you some color, to the black and white that the data analytics provide. Starting to get into some journeys, so touch points on where they were prior to page and where they're going post-page, which is helpful to kind of map that journey and where we can really spend our time more so on pages for website optimizations. So that certainly helps. And then I would say SEO is also a really large component of that. So from a website perspective, from a paid media side, where are opportunities that we're missing on that, and not potentially gathering enough traffic that we should be based on the content that we wrote for our new site. So always making sure that we're in front of those keywords, because not only is that important just from a strictly SEO standpoint, sometimes service lines will ask us, where do we need to focus next? And sometimes page level data will give you that. But SEO really provides that more holistic look across the board, what the appetite for keywords and different treatments conditions are.
Yeah, kind of shows you the business demand better than anything else can, because it's telling you how many people are looking. It's so funny. Everybody's been calling for the end of SEO since I started this thing 16 years ago. And now it might be more relevant than ever because ChatGPT, et cetera, they don't even have ads yet. It's all SEO. It matters even more now. Oh, I love it. It's never going to die. One last thing, James, leave us with a tidbit of information. If you could give healthcare marketers one piece of advice that they don't usually hear, someone on the come up, what would you tell them?
Yeah. And this is something, like you said, coming from the dark side. I was definitely not well versed, on the client side of healthcare marketing. I had worked on some healthcare clients on the agency side, but this was a breath of fresh air, a new air for me. And I would say for someone, your inexperience in this space is really your superpower. It's the best tool that you could possibly have. And the reason I say that is in marketing, the number one thing you have to keep in mind is your customer, who your customer is. So if you don't know that and it's not making sense to you and you're kind of thinking through the patient kind of mindset, because you'll work with doctors who will throw acronyms out and, talk very, very smart to you. But if it doesn't make sense to you, it's probably not going to make sense to a patient. So never hesitate to ask that extra why question or, hey, can you break that down for me? Because again, if it's not making sense to you, probably not going to make sense to a patient. And we always want to make sure we're conveying that tough healthcare kind of information to patients easily so they can digest it. So use that superpower. If you don't know it and it doesn't make sense, it's probably not going to make sense to patients either.
Yeah, I love it. And the more time we spend in healthcare, the more time, you're right, we see things as obvious and that's the way they are and we don't accept that they should change. One thing, I think it was One Medical, the Amazon thing they did, I thought that was really smart, is they recruited the whole exec team. None of them were allowed to be from healthcare. And so they came with a different opinion of how healthcare should work. I don't know how well that panned out for them. I think it's not really hit its stride yet, but there are a lot of things we take for granted that other marketers come in and they're like, no, that's really dumb. We'll work around the compliance stuff and we'll figure it out. The compliance stuff being the one thing that ticks everybody off that comes into this industry. I think healthcare loses a lot of great marketers because of compliance and lack of data really ticks people off. But James said it best. If it don't make sense to you, it ain't gonna make sense to the patient. James, this was awesome. I mean, we got to talk about the things that are actually happening in campaigns. It's been a nice change. I enjoyed it, man. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time. It's been fun.
All right, we'll let you get back to making the magic work. Congrats on your new website. I bet that was stressful. It took forever, and now you can move on with your life and do the fun marketing stuff. And congrats on Cape Fear Valley Health System acronym. Y'all need a better acronym for that one. Congrats on the growth, because a lot of regionals are having a lot of trouble, and so you guys are fighting a good fight. Well done, sir.
I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on, Alex.